Hey everybody, what's up? Pastore here. Today we're going to be talking about esports. Let's see. Let me make sure this is all working. Yes. Hey everybody. Perfect. Everything seems to be good. Y'all can see my screen and you can see me too, which is good. Um, I'm going to talk for just a minute and then we are going to get into some stuff that I want to talk about today. All right. So, a few things I want to talk about today. I am going to be talking about esports jobs in general and different kinds of careers that one can get in esports. And then I want to talk about finding jobs in esports and creating a resume for esports. So let's get into it. And I have some notes for myself here, is what you're seeing on the screen here. But you're actually seeing my resume up on the screen, but on one of my other screens over here. All right. So the first thing, let's talk about different jobs in esports. So let me just actually minimize this. Let me make myself a little bigger here for y'all. There we go. So what I want to talk about, so let's start out with the different kinds of careers one can have at esports. So there are really three different sectors that I see esports in esports right now, at least three different trends. And those trends are in corporate, higher ed, high school. So let's start out with corporate. So what kind of jobs are there available in corporate? There are a number of different kinds of jobs. So first of all, we've got things like the basics, which you know, like shoutcasters, which are the people who are doing the streaming and stuff, calling out tournaments. We have the streamers. We have marketing people. We have people running like data analytics. We have people who are managing things. We have people running tournaments, tournament organizers. We have lawyers representing everyone. We have a slew of jobs. So for those of you in corporate, how do you find out where there's esports jobs and what kind of salaries you're getting? So I had my students do an activity where they had to search for various esports jobs that they could potentially be interested in and look at the salaries. And it's kind of funny. The salaries literally range from $10 an hour to $175,000. So the discrepancy in job salary based on what they want to do was huge. So it really depended on what you want to do. So let's take a look. So the first thing I want to do that I want to show you guys is if you are interested in esports jobs, where can you search? So we're starting with corporate. One of the best places I've found for corporate is a site called Hitmarker. Really great for esports jobs, and you can just scroll through here and see they just have tons and tons of jobs, and you can search for more specific things. Some of these are like programmer and stuff like that, but not really, not all of them. Like marketing director, all kinds of different stuff. Anything you could think of that has to do with esports will be on this website. It's actually a really great site, and you can search by entry, junior. Let's just take a look at some of the entry-level jobs. Quality assurance, freelance game tester, intern, things like that, writer. So all kinds of different things, marketing specialist, all kinds of different jobs. Really great site. I love this site. I really like it a lot. Next, for corporate, basic job boards, which are just your Indeed, Monster, all that kind of stuff. Those places. I mean, you can search here. We're on Indeed right now. If we search esports, well, I don't need to search Wilmington. I can just search anywhere. I'm going to come up with a bunch of stuff. Director of esports, Charleston, North Carolina, $75K. That's actually an awesome salary for that area. That's really good. Esports video analyst, filmmaking intern, esports coordinator. Something that's really interesting. Notice this. Esports in this job posting is spelled with lowercase e. Esports in this posting is capital E. So if you were going to apply to those jobs, you would want to make sure when you wrote esports, you wrote it like they did in their job. Just a little tip. Okay, so that's corporate. That's basically what you're going to find. Those are the kind of jobs out there. How to find these jobs. Next, we have higher ed. Higher ed, and I did talk about this a little bit the last time I presented, but the types of jobs in higher ed that we're running across are things like coach, director, trainer, Those are the big jobs that you're seeing in higher ed and faculty tenure track positions. So higher ed jobs are going to be a little different than these corporate ones where you're going to find them. Um, Mostly, so there are really two sites where all colleges pretty much post jobs. One is higheredjobs.com, the other is the chronicleofeducation.com. If you would go to higheredjobs.com, you can search esports, and you will come across all the jobs in higher ed. And pretty much if you're searching this site, you're pretty much going to find all of them. Now, all colleges will advertise on their website as well, but they're all going to list it here. You can see here are some jobs that have been posted in August and September. We can see there's actually a bunch of them, probably like 10, which is not tons compared to last year, but you got to remember we're dealing with coronavirus right now, and basically what we're dealing with is most colleges are on a hiring freeze right now. So it's surprising to see really many jobs on the site. But we can see head coach, director, that's just for recreational sports, assistant esports coach, esports staff, head coach, head coach, head coach, head coach, assistant professor, that, oh yeah, and in digital persuasion and esports. Interesting. That's in a Department of Communication. Last year there were a number of just tenure track in specifically esports. So you will find that on this type of site. And then the third place is high schools. And I talked about this last time, but if you're in high schools and esports, really they're looking for someone with an educational technology background who can also do esports stuff. So that's kind of what you're going to get if that's what you're doing. Oh, and you know what? I totally realize. Hold on a second. I need to say... do this. Yeah, that would be an issue. I'm totally in private mode, so anyone who's trying to watch this won't be able to. So let's go to public. There we go. Look at that. Now we're in public. So much better. I mean, you can go back and watch the video, so it's completely fine, but good. Set up right. I had some issues setting up today for some reason. So YouTube, the way YouTube streams is a little funky. Basically, like, so when you stream and you set it up, first of all, if you set it up from your browser or your phone, you get like these, there are differences. But I set this up on my browser, and they have 3 different ways to set up videos. And apparently I must have set it up the incorrect way, but I don't think that I did. But anyway, it didn't want to play nicely with OBS the way that it was working today. So that's why there are some odd things like that setting. It was on private mode for some reason. So anyway, not a big deal. Doesn't matter because you can go back and watch. But still, I just wish it was set up correctly from the beginning. But anyhow... so those are some basics on jobs. So there are sites out there for corporate, sites out there for higher ed, and at high school is a whole different ballgame where you really just need to be an ed tech person, get a job at a school as ed tech, and then you're going to fall into the esports realm. So those are some of the sites that you can search. But let's say that you have one of them. So how do you... okay, so we're going to talk about creating your resume for esports. But one of the things I want to mention is if you are looking for one of these jobs, you do need a few things. So first of all, you need experience. So you've got to get experience one way or another. It's one of the reasons why we started our certificate program in esports, because all the students in the certificate are getting experience. Additionally, you need some kind of portfolio most likely. So what have you done? Especially if you're applying to like a streamer or shoutcaster type job, you've got to have some kind of portfolio to show them what you've done, a reel or whatever. So it's another reason we started the certificate program is the students would have that experience. Okay, so next thing, the resume. So what I have up on the screen, you can see that I pulled up my resume. Now, my resume is a little different because I am applying for professor jobs if I were applying to a job. So a professor resume is not the normal 1 to 2 pages. Whereas for you creating your resume, I would totally tell you to make it just 2 pages. 2 pages max. But for me, look how long mine is. This is because as a professor, you literally have to list every single thing in the world that you've done, which takes forever. You can see how many pages this is. So many pages. Oops. Yeah, it's a lot. 19-page resume, and I could make it longer. So there we go. But the basic components of my resume and the way it's structured and formatted are the same way that yours should be. Now, in esports, applying to a job in esports should be no more different than applying to a job anywhere else. So the first thing I tell people when they are applying for any job is assume that the person looking at it is extremely conservative about what they're looking for. And what I mean by that is, look how my resume is plain, easy to find things, no colors on it or anything like that. Normal, boring, plain resume. The goal of a resume is to give someone a piece of information. Your information can stand out, but the way it's organized and stuff shouldn't stand out, because that just makes it more confusing for the person. So let's take a look. So we start out, first thing, big bold letters at the top. What do I have? My name. Next, my contact information. Notice I don't have my address. I totally do not recommend you put your address. You don't need people to Zillow your house and find out how much you paid for it or anything. You don't need people to know where you live in like stalking situations. If you want to list the city and town you live in, city and state, go ahead, do that. Like I could say New York, New York, or I could say I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. No big deal, but I'm not going to put my address. And let me actually move myself out of the screen so you can see here. Nothing is going right today. I realize now that I was in the screen when I was doing those job searches, so you probably didn't get to see every single thing, but that's okay. It wasn't really a big deal. Okay, so I've got my name, my email address. If you are at a university, do not put your university email address. Put your personal email address. The reason why is because most people, as they are graduating, will leave and they no longer have that email. And sometimes, like, so my first job that I ever had, I was a management consultant. I actually had applied there like 8 months prior. I didn't even remember applying there when they called me. So make sure that the phone number you list and email address you list are ones that you will have. So like get a Gmail and use that. That's what you want to list. Okay. Next thing, I've got my website. So you want to have, it is appropriate to have social media. Like if you're applying to a streaming job or something in esports, you probably want to show that you are on Twitch or other sites like that. And you're going to, especially if you have like lots of followers or doing something great on the channel, you're going to want to list that. Now for me, I have my website listed. And now I don't have other social media listed here, but if someone goes to my website, let me move my picture out of the screen here. You can see I've got all my social media links right here in the top. They've got my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. They can go find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. They can find me any way they want to. So very easy for someone to find me. And then on my webpage, I have all the basic stuff about me. I have my portfolio. They can see tons of videos on various things. They can see my YouTube stuff, my blog, anything. They can find my publications, my resume, things that are important to me as a professor. They can see. So I purposely have that on there. They can find all kinds. They're not going to have to do a web search on me because, look, they've got everything right here. Everything they could ask for. Next thing, you always want to have your education first. Always education first. Notice how I don't have an objective here. Objectives are like the worst thing you can have on your website. When you have an objective up there, maybe if there's like a very, very, very specific reason or case, you've got one. But for the most part, they're terrible. Like I see objectives or like sometimes what an objective does is it pigeonholes you into a certain place. Like sometimes a job description is very vague and they don't necessarily know what they want, but your objective just takes you out of the running automatically because you were too specific. And the other problem people have is they're not specific enough and they're just like, I want a job that's going to challenge me or something like that. That's ridiculous. Just don't even bother. Don't write that kind of stuff. Don't write an objective. You know who writes an objective? My goal is to be CFO of a company that's growing, at least 2 times over the next 2 to 4 years. That's an objective. I want a challenging job that's going to be fun and exciting. No. You see the difference between those two? One's a CFO and one's someone who probably doesn't know what they're doing. So don't write an objective. Just don't. Just don't have it. Just don't have an objective on your website. And I'm just looking over here to make sure there's nothing in chat. Okay. So no objective. We got our education listed. Notice how now obviously I have multiple degrees, so you're probably just going to have one. So big important thing. Do we list our GPA? If you got over a 3.0, list it. You should list it. You don't need to, no one ever needs to list a GPA. Like someone who graduates with a 2.01 versus someone with a 4.0, nothing on their resume says that unless they put it in. So if you did get over a 3.0, put it, because people are curious. It's a piece of information that helps tell me about this person. When I see like 3 point something, I'm like, okay, this person took college at least somewhat serious and did well. It shows me they can work, they can study, they can do things. If I saw someone with like a 2.1 on there, I'd be like, this isn't the person we want to hire. So know that kind of stuff. Next, we have our experience. Now, I'm going to skip over some stuff on mine because it's not applicable. And I want to get to my professional work experience. So we have our name, contact information. We have our academic experience, our education, and then we have our professional experience. What have we done? So this is where if you're an undergrad and like you've just been working like, you know, a job to get by, like whatever it is you've been doing, may not be relevant to what you want to do professionally. So that's one of the reasons, like if you're in the certificate program, which my students are, you're going to have real experience to put here. Like I coordinated, you know, spring semester 07 or spring semester 2017, I was the team lead coordinator, and here's all the stuff I did, kind of thing, as an internship or whatever. So you're going to have all that experience listed out here. Now, when you list experience, there are a few things I want to suggest to you. When you are dealing with things, be specific as you can. For example, instead of me just saying like I managed a bunch of courses, I say managed courses for 15 hospitals. Notice how specific I was there. I gave them the number. I specifically said I did this for 15 people. You know, whatever it is, you want to be specific. If you have numbers, like, you know, let them know the numbers. Always start with a verb, and it should be in the past, doubled, designed, worked. But this is present, so training and development, that kind of thing. You can see the example here. Served, conducted, served, designed and developed, that kind of thing. And I have more stuff here as well. You know, advise director on effective strategies, develop the course, here's the number, you know, anything with numbers you want to have. Then finally, for you as a student, especially in esports, you're going to want to have some kind of section at the bottom that lists skills or conceptual things that you understand conceptually. It might be like I have computer and technology experience here, and professional organizations. This is my awards. These are things that you're going to want to list. No, you're not going to want to copy what I have here because mine's applicable to what I do, but you're going to have to take the skills sets that you have and tailor that to the job that you're applying for. Like, you know, it'd be very impressive to say, you know, I've been competing in esports since whatever, or I have been streaming since whatever. So you have a skill section that's going to have that. So, okay, so here are the sections. We have our name, social media, website, academic experience, our education. We have our jobs, and then we have our skill set. Those are the main things you need to include on your resume. You know, depending on the job you're applying for, things can change a little bit. For example, if you were applying for a streamer position, you're probably going to need to send them a portfolio of stuff you've done. So you might have a link to your portfolio. So how do you create your portfolio? What are you going to do? It depends what you're doing. It might just be sending them to your Twitch channel. All lots of variables in that, but you're probably going to need a portfolio no matter what you're applying for. Experience and work are the two things I really hit on for students that I want to see. So it's one of the reasons I have you create them. But those are the basic things required that to get someone started in esports. Some people ask me, one of the questions I see most often is, well, where can I get one of these? How do I get started? That's the biggest challenge people have, is they don't know where to get started. Well, you got to get experience. So if you're in college, get it at your college, in your clubs or whatever you can. I can speak to my school and I can tell students it's simple. Start our certificate program, and you're going to get curriculum teaching you how to do it, and you're going to do it for real in your classes and as an internship. So you're going to get the experience. You're going to join our club. You're going to be able to do stuff at our club. We're going to put you in various positions and let you build a portfolio and get that experience. So that's how you do it. And then when you get out to apply to jobs, you're going to not have nothing on your resume. You're going to have a resume with like 2 to 4 or 5, 6 different jobs, projects, semester-long things that you've done that are internships that you can say, here's what I've done, and here's my portfolio that have to go along with it. That is how you get that position. So anyway, if you're interested in how to get started in esports, how to get those jobs, this is how you do it. You have to figure out the way for you to get that experience. That's it. And that's it for today. That's what I wanted to talk about. So we basically talked about the different kind of jobs, where to search. I showed some of the websites. I showed Hitmarker, which is a great one for getting jobs. And then basic sites like Indeed and stuff. For college, we got higher ed jobs. That is the main place to go to for everything there is higher ed. And then we have high school, really a whole different league, really. And high schools, even the way they list their jobs is like by school on their website. They don't have they don't have money to go to like a higher ed jobs. They literally list them like on their county school website. So that's how you're gonna find something like that. But yeah, that's it. And let's see, questions. So that's basically the basics, the gist of it. If anyone has any questions, please post on the video. But that's it, and that's it for today. So